And welcome back to Side Talk, where we talk about all things sci-fi. And yep, we got another episode of Star Trek TNG for us to talk about, laugh at, have fun with. And what are we doing today?
First season, episode 7, Justice.
Justice.
I didn't see no justice in this episode, but that's...
Yeah, it barely has anything to do with justice, I guess. But
injustice.
But spoiler warning for those who haven't seen it. I mean, come on, go watch it.
Go watch
But here's the plot, and here's what goes down. They deliver some colonists to a new colony, and they discover a new planet that they've never seen or heard of. And they find out it's filled with humanoid people, and they seem rather civilized and almost like it's a paradise planet. They're even very kind of, let's say, free-spirited and sensual and naked and all that, whatever. So they decide to go have shore leave on the planet. Some of them relax and have fun. Even some of the children go down. And back on the ship, Captain Picard is confronted by this very ominous, intimidating alien spaceship
Spaceship.
presence. And it questions why they're there in a very intimidating way, shaking the ship.
State the purpose.
And then tells them to leave the people on the planet, its children, alone. Back down on the planet, they discover, they read their laws and realized that it was a civilized place, but they missed a law, and they learned that randomly, at a random place, for a random amount of time, if you break any law, you will be executed immediately.
On the spot.
And it doesn't matter how little it is or how big it is. If the law is no loitering and they've decided that's the zone,
you will
get executed. So of course, Wesley ends up breaking the law, and they have to pretty much save him. And the captain tries to diplomatically resolve the situation, but they're adamant about killing him. And even the entity in space is involved with the situation a very bit, to where they're worried if they break their laws and just try to escape, whether there'll be a space entity trying to kill them.
Right.
Regardless, to say, they amicably settle the situation more or less, and they all leave happily, and there's no fight, there's no casualties.
All right. Well,
and that's about it.
That's pretty much the gist of this episode. But let's get into the particulars, because there's some things that we want to talk about. First of all, this episode sucks. I mean, Gene Roddenberry tried. He had a bunch of half-naked people running around in these scantily clad outfits. It's a terrible episode. The writing was just not good. And so we'll start out with the beginning is, first of all, you just found you were dropping off some colonists, and on your way from dropping off those colonists, in this Rubicon system, there's an M-class planet. Let's go check it out. No, never had any contact. But you just go check out and make first contact. It didn't say that they studied it, they sent messages back and forth.
Let's slow down a bit. So they deliver the colonists, like you said. They find a new planet, and at this point, they've mentioned stuff like the Prime Directive, which is very serious and kind of like almost obscure, because it's like we're not allowed to mess with certain aliens, we're not allowed to interfere with certain stuff.
Right.
There's certain rules. But in this episode, it's like, oh, hey, look, new planet. Oh, they seem nice. We read their laws. Well, let's go hang out.
Yeah, we need to do shore leave.
They don't show the captain
Let's send the children.
They don't show the captain talking to the leader privately, or they don't show any of the diplomatic stuff. They do show Riker returning from an away team, so they imply some stuff, but they don't really make it like it's a big deal.
Well, it's like first contact, that they not really making
a big deal.
A big deal out of first contact.
Which, you would think first contact with a new species would be a big deal, because this becomes the crux of the episode. First of all, there's traditions, laws, or maybe even situations. What if, oh, hey, you guys are hanging out our city. We don't got no beef, but we're kind of in a civil war, so if this place blows up,
right.
There's all kinds of scenarios that you want to know about and understand before you just have children, as well as officers just vacationing.
Even take a step back, when the first away team went down, did they contact them and coordinate that, or did they just appear out of nowhere?
Well, the point,
and see, that's the thing.
it's off screen.
Right,
So
of course.
we can go is that they implied that nothing wrong happened.
Of course.
So when they get back to the planet, there's no hostilities. It's not like you guys aren't allowed to be here at all. They just imply that it's okay, which is like they're making first contact, not a big deal. And guess what? Lo and behold, within a few conversations, within like an hour of them being down there, so they realize,
it's a
these
big
people
deal.
are crazy.
They're crazy.
These people have arbitrary rules, and we should have been more careful.
So I think what fooled them is when they first came down there, how they was warmly greeted and received. And the greeting of hugging, sensual hug, and in your face.
Or I'll put it like this, to keep it real, Riker was enamored,
the culprit,
and was more all about the free love, and wasn't thinking about it. Of course, the whole ship and the captain.
Right.
The captain was like, there's got to be something wrong with this, but go ahead.
Exactly.
And then Riker's like, ooh, boobies or whatever. And then
they're very fit.
So let's move on. Well, let's think about this. It didn't take long for them talking to realize, we have this arbitrary laws. Like, we don't have police, we have this. It didn't take them long in orbit for the entity to contact the ship in a very extreme way. Right. How long were they surveying this place?
So
how long were they checking things out?
Well, that was my point before when first contact. Even though they showed it off screen, they made it like by the way, we just found a new planet and we're going down there and we checked it out. Which if you just found it and you just checked it out, I don't think it's something you know about good enough to send your children down. And it turns out that they didn't know anything about this. Tasha was inept. When she read the law, she didn't read the penalty for the laws.
Or they didn't have it written down. I don't know. We don't know, did someone miss it? Did Data not read it or something? Because as soon as they got down there, they're like, our one law about this thing is kind of feels like there's like a disconnect in the writing.
Exactly.
Because either they were incompetent and didn't read all the laws for real, she was lying, she missed a few paragraphs, or this law is unwritten. They never really got into that. But either way, it started off, our laws is just that we don't hurt anyone. Our laws are simple and kind. They made it like it was just cool. They didn't say, if you mess up though, we're gonna kill you.
We're gonna kill you. And then in the episode, they reveal when Tasha's sitting there talking to him, drinking a glass of wine. She's like, "Wolf, come over here. You're gonna want to hear this." And then they reveal that we have one arbitrary.
Well, she asked
penalty.
the question, where's your police?
police?
Where's your enforcers?
And she said, you mean mediators? We have mediators, but they only be in one place for a few hours a day where the punishment zones are.
So let's address the elephant in the room.
Okay,
we've been talking about the people, we've been talking around it, but the elephant in the room is that they have a law where in an arbitrary place and an arbitrary time, if you break the law, you get executed. And they didn't communicate that, and the way that it's marked is like, all right, let's get into the actual law that was broken. That's what I mean.
Well,
let's
before we get
Wesley
there, before we get there, just to explain how arbitrary this law is, it's a random place at a random time every day, and it changes from time to time. During the day, it may be here for an hour, over there for 30 seconds, over there for two.
They didn't make that very clear.
It says at a random location, for a random amount of time, the punishment zones, and that's why only the police have to hang out in this area, because if you commit a crime somewhere else,
you're good, I guess.
And if you do anything outside of the punishment zone when you get away, how does this create the peace and harmony that they portrayed it to? So let's get to it.
That's how it is here, and they told them this after the fact. And we've been saying children, but it's really only Wesley.
Only Wesley,
but it could have easily been anyone else. Riker could have been going on a walk with one of the pretty ladies and tripped and fell into the flowers. What do I mean by flowers? Y'all saw the episode. Wesley, playing with the children, ends up falling into a forbidden zone that is surrounding a box of flowers, and you're not allowed to disturb the flowers.
And they claim it's fenced and it's
by the way,
has signs and walls and fences around it.
By the way, these forbidden zones are supposed to be clearly marked with some color white, but it happens to be like a foot high little
a bench,
ledge.
a bench that you can sit
It
on.
almost looks like a bench, but it's like a
You would
foot
sit
high
on it.
little barrier that a toddler could easily just
Stumble over
either
and
step
crawl
over
over.
or climb over.
Right,
under.
right. You
Anyone
would sit on
could.
it. You would put your foot up on it. You know.
If you weren't looking, you'd trip over it.
If you
So
weren't
anyway,
looking.
they're playing ball. The kid throws the ball, but then immediately is like, "Wait, no, Wesley!" Like if you knew.
Wesley's going after the ball, right?
Anyway, of course.
Say, if you knew that.
Why did you do that? But fine, you're just a dumb kid. Dumb kids make mistakes like that all the time. I'm
Right.
surprised kids like that don't die every week on this planet.
I know on this play. And then
But yeah, they
do.
throw a
They
ball.
do.
Wesley trips over the darn thing into the flowers, and immediately the police pop up and like,
The mediators. Now let's talk about these mediators. So anyway, so they runs over and they say, "Okay, obviously there's a violation. You admit you did this. You saw him as a witness? Okay, I think we can go ahead and execute him now." Their investigation is like, you admit that you fell in there, you admit that you saw him, and it is a violation. Let's kill him.
so yeah, they're like
Case closed.
They're like judge, jury, and executor.
Right
If
on
they
the
can
spot.
figure out that, oh, it was you that went into the forbidden zone and did the thing. All right, well, let's kill you.
Let's kill you.
So of course, luckily,
Riker and Deanna runs up and they kind of catch him, right as they finish the trial, which was about 3-4 seconds.
it wasn't a trial. As soon as they finished the conversation,
The evaluation wasn't even
and
an
of course,
evaluation.
no one is gonna just let them kill Wesley. So anyway, we could just see how it's just such a stupid,
It was a stupid
premise. Like, I could see this episode being good in a way, but it's focused on other things that makes it kind of dumb. Like, they weren't serious about their protocol. It
Right.
didn't feel like they were it felt like everything was haphazard and not thought through. From, like, if I'm really taking the story seriously, like the way
Right.
everyone's going about this new planet, it just feels like a badly written
Well,
plot
and
where
then-
everyone is conveniently doing what they need to do.
And then, if they're not taking it serious in the protocols of first contact and those things, why are you taking the prime directive now that we're trying to kill somebody so seriously? We have to, the prime directive now. We didn't do that in first contact. It was like, come on down.
Which brings me
we
to
can
a
have
point I
fun.
wanted to make earlier, is that the prime directive is such a big deal, but
But
it's so new. I don't know what about it is established. Like maybe in the older episodes before this, they might have said this, but I could have swore you're not allowed to interfere with developing races. So if they don't have their warp drive, if they're not this advanced, you're not even supposed to let them see you.
Exactly.
And if
These
I look at
people-
these people,
Exactly. They were not advanced and they did not have warp capability. They ran around naked, making love everywhere.
and they even to the point to where we're skipping ahead, but Picard takes one of them up in his ship to meet their god.
Which, he's
And
skipping ahead.
she immediately starts acting like, when they get back down, it's like, you share the sky with our God. You must be gods too. Wait, I thought this was what the prime directive didn't want to happen. So they're just like,
Talking about
whoop-de-doo.
interfering.
They're like, whoop-de-doo, let's go have a vacation. But we don't think about the prime directive.
Right.
Now Wesley's about to get executed. But the prime directive.
But not
we
because
can't just.
Wait a minute, you're thinking about it, but not because I'm gonna take one of them up to my ship, which that's interfering. Do they know technology like ours?
We could talk about that scene.
And then
for
I'll
an
put
hour.
them next to
Let's
their
stop.
God to see, did you know
Let's-
that was your God that you just described to me a few seconds ago on the planet?
Let's really look into that. Let's stop.
Okay,
Let's slow down
okay.
and let's
All right, let's
just
do
think
it.
about that, because that is the
Let's do
dumbest
it.
part.
That is the dumbest
Wesley
part.
breaks the law. They save him. They even get to the point to where they're talking it out. They didn't just go to phasers.
Right.
And Picard was even nice enough not to just beam away and be like, forget it. Beam away, warp 8.
Right.
Beam him out of
Which
here.
he
Everyone,
could've
let's
done.
go. Theoretically, he could have done, and maybe the entity wouldn't have stopped him if he had did it that fast. We'll get into
Right.
that. But during the trial, for some reason, Picard's like, I have to show this, lady who I guess is one of the leaders. There's these two people who keep talking to each other. I guess they're the leaders, and they're the ones who decided, we'll wait till evening to execute.
They're
nobody.
making it up on the spot. They had to confer when Captain.
They
Captain
deserve. We're digressing, but they deserve their
Right.
own segment. We're gonna
Really
get back.
they do.
We'll get back to them. But he decides to take one of the two lead figures, the female, I have no idea why he does this. But
Right.
he feels like I have to show you the entity that's obviously you let
just
me know that is your God.
That's what y'all worship, that he's shown himself
And
before, and it's powerful.
I can see y'all are not the most advanced race in the whatever. But anyway,
But
he's
I'm
like,
insisting on taking you.
Come up to my ship. He beams them up and shows them their God. She's all like,
Oh, she's terrified. I mean, he just terrified. She almost died of terror because it's like
I don't know about that, but yeah, she was scared.
She got down on her knees and she yes, that's I mean, she was like terrified.
She was terrified. And then, what information did he got? He was like, yes, this is your God. Yes. Okay.
He got
and
that
then the
information
entity
on the planet,
which I would have saw this coming. The entity said clearly and very threateningly,
Do not interfere with my children below.
leave my people alone.
right?
Why are you guys here? Blah blah blah.
Well, at this time,
he wasn't inviting and friendly and
right.
anything. So I would have thought that taking one of these children up to see him for no reason, without any express. They didn't ask to see him. He didn't say let them. I'm just doing stuff, really. I'm just
Right.
meddling. I say the proper word is Picard just decides to start meddling.
Throw out the Prime Directive and start.
Well, we know this has nothing. This is just like we're in Bizarro world now.
That's
he's
more
just
of a
like,
violation of the Prime Directive
Yeah.
than anything else.
the
Go ahead.
biggest violation. That's why I'm like, it doesn't make sense. We're in Wonderland. Come on the ship. Come see the thing. Oh, it's the God. Okay, bye. Wait, he gets mad. I would have expected it to do.
Rears up, comes at the ship, starts quaking and shaking the ship again,
And starts coming close like it's gonna do. I don't know what it's gonna punch it. Is it gonna crash
They're gonna
directly
probably
into it?
bump into it or something.
Anyway, yeah. So they send it back. Duh.
Quickly, hurry up, emergency beam out. He put his communicator on and sent it back to the planet. Like,
and I'm
we
surprised the
almost got
entity
destroyed.
stopped. Why is the entity not mad anymore? You thought that you were gonna steal him away, but yeah,
I don't know.
a lot of
It
stuff
was-
happening is kind of stupid. Picard taking her up there is just illogical. The entity, we barely can get any logic from it.
They wanted to get to the violation of the Prime Directive, which
Right, they wanted to ask
they
a moral
violated
question.
that before Wesley even fell into broke their law on the planet unknowingly, and it's like there's no protocols for accidents. Clearly that was an accident. There's no protocol for accident. You had an accident, you die because of it. Now, you're a primitive planet, Captain knows it's a primitive planet. He's still meddling with these primitive people. They said, well, obviously, at the first time the captain came down and talked to people, they said, obviously, you have enough strength and firepower to just take your people and go on, and there's nothing we can do about it. We'll just write it down as somebody be out of our reach, and we'll let it go. That's when they should have shook hands. Captain should have said, Scotty, beam me up. O'Brien, beam me up, and been done with it. But no, they were like, whoa, we got a Prime Directive that we can't really just do that if we want. And then at the end, he just does that.
All right, so to put it in shorter words, the episode has the captain really just going back and forth, being indecisive, only to, in the end, decide that we're just going to beam him up, we're just going to leave.
He should have did it in the very
We're not
first.
going to allow this to happen. And the entity, which was, I guess, is supposed to be the source of tension, the source of drama, stops them from teleporting for a moment,
seconds,
while he gives him a speech for a second, convincing, I guess, the entity to let them go.
That we're moral, more than you, so
And
let
the
us go.
entity never makes it known how it feels or what it's doing or how much it really cares. Almost to where you could take the entity out of the story and there really wouldn't be much difference.
And it wouldn't be a
which
story.
is a shame, because I was saying earlier, there's avenues where this show could have been interesting. They were trying to have a moral quandary of, like, are we allowed to just go break laws on other planets and not subject ourselves to their law? But if they were to break our law, they were trying to have a moral quandary, but they didn't approach that in a very eloquent or interesting manner.
In reality, what would you have done if you was the captain?
Well, in that situation, there's a lot of stuff I want to get into, but what I would have done is, well, at the most, I would have, since they were kind of being trustworthy, maybe I would let them hold Wesley for a conversation. Like, why don't we go and talk to them for a second? And just like in their conversation, they were like, well, maybe we're just a backward world who is, you know, our laws are archaic and this, and you could just take him, you know, and there's nothing we could do to stop you. At that point, I would have been like, yes, it's sorry we've had to come to this, but yes, we're not allowing you to take the boy. We're going to leave and blah, blah, blah. And that would have been the end of the situation. Or I would have beamed him out of there and left because, first of all, as soon as the entity contacted me, I would have probably contacted, first of all, in reality, when that entity contacted the ship as a captain, I would have been like, everyone back to the ship
till we can figure out what's going on.
Because, you know, he said, don't leave my children alone, which could mean a myriad of things, as in leave them alone how?
Right.
So let's leave them alone 100%, entirety. Bring everybody back, especially our young officer cadet who's down there.
Right.
This whole episode could have easily been avoided. But if we really go into it, the writing and the ideas of what happened are very stupid. The people down there and this law that we're very proud of, which is so stupid, you can't even imagine how it would have a society that, you know, is functional.
And
you know,
progressive,
they're
right.
like running around, there's no crime, they don't really need police, but everything's working. But why? Because we got random places that if you break the law and you get executed. So I can just punch you right now. We're not in the zone. And by the way, your zone is just a little white barrier. What is it? Does it change from time to time? I'm talking about the way to mark it. Of this is a forbidden zone. Is it always that little barrier that you can trip over? That the kids act like it was clearly marked. They're like, how does they even talk about before our laws we had thieving and murdering? It's like, how does the flower zone stop that? But let's not get into that. Let's just believe that it somehow works.
Wait a minute. Remember when Wesley fell into the barrier and Riker ran up and the two mediators came and the guy was stepping to Wesley with the injection to kill him and Riker came and subdued him, flop, 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 knocked him down and took it from him. He's laying on the ground. If this zone was still a punishment zone, all of you need to be executed.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by if this zone we ran out of time?
But I thought the zone was over that thing. He should have threw him into the flowers. That's what he should have did. Ha!
It was just crazy.
No, he should have threw him into the flowers and then took his little thing and handed it back to him. It's like, you better get to work.
Kill yourself. So it was so arbitrary and so just chaotically stupid. I mean, it was dumb. Now the guy saying that we should kill all of y'all because what did all of us do? And only reason you're not advocating for killing all of us because the time ran out. In this zone is no longer a punishment zone. What is that?
So yeah, all right, moving on.
Jeez Louise.
The entity, which also should be a very interesting point of interest or tension in the story, is just generic, even by this Star Trek TNG standards, how they've been having these random powerful space entities that they've been running into. This one is just like, oh, it's here. We don't know what it wants. We don't know how it feels. It doesn't express itself that much. All it said is, and far too loud for some reason.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
But it comes in as,
Take the purpose.
what do you want? Freaking deafening. I mean, why are you guys here?
Why are you talking so loud? That's what I would have asked. State the purpose.
Okay, well, here's our purpose. Okay, don't mess with my children. In the end, can we leave? No. Okay, but see, we're following our laws because we can't let Wesley die. The law.
We're moral people.
What law? What? Justice is never absolute. You know, they're saying stuff like laws can't be absolute if you want justice. You know, we can't make decisions. You know, they pretty much start philosophizing
to
the thing, and then it's like, okay, you can leave. And do you want us to get rid of those colonies nearby? And they just disappear.
And we disappear.
So all you can really draw from them is that they care somewhat. They don't want them messing up what they got going, but they don't really care that much about them. Like, you guys can run around, talk, and You can even fall into the flower pits and whatever.
Kill each
but just
other.
don't mess with our children. Don't take them from the planet. You know, that was dumb. Let me take them up into the ship. That was the most interesting part from the entity, is when they finally brought the girl on the ship. And it was like, you know, no. And it began to, I guess, go on the attack. Besides that, it's like, it didn't care. It's barely even there. It's kind of here. It's kind of somewhere else.
Right.
The true place that they dropped the ball, because I like how they even made the citizens like, well, look, we're logical. We're not strong enough to stop you.
Right.
You may feel like we're barbaric and stuff, so you could just save him and we'd write him up as an escape or whatever.
Right.
The tension should have been from the alien up there, and all he did was stop them from beaming up. Which,
For a few
if they had
seconds.
did that about 20 minutes earlier,
He probably wouldn't have stopped him.
well, no, I'm saying if the show got to that point 20 minutes earlier and
Yeah.
had more time to go, we might have had a more interesting situation, because now they're trapped on the planet with the execution and stuff. But that lasted all of 2 seconds.
Yeah, and they could have showed the sun going down and them getting ready to, we want to execute him, and it could have lasted.
And they could have
created some drama.
done something to make it more interesting than what they did, because it just panned out to be, oh, I don't know what to do. Okay, I've decided we're not going to go along with it. Bye. We can't leave. But justice is this, and justice can't be absolute, and you did this, and our own laws never intended.
Yeah,
and then, guess what? Okay, you guys can go. And then, the end. Well, that's Side Talk. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment what you think about this episode. Do you love this episode for whatever reason, whether it's how good it is or how bad it is? Is there something we missed, or there's something you want to let us know? Just write it down in the comments. By the way, if you enjoy this, you probably enjoy some of our other Side Talks, where we go over the other episodes. And we've got a new fan film. What is it? Star Trek, A New Recruit.
The New Recruit.
We're going to link it somewhere around
Somewhere,
here.
we'll
You'll
have a
find it
picture.
on the screen.
Something.
So yeah, thanks for making it to the end. And
We're out.
we're out.